My name is Dr. Jack Lewis. I'm a neuroscientist, and I'm on a journey to understand everything there is to know about the human brain. The human brain is the most complex part of our body. Many mysteries remain about how this most vital of vital organs controls every aspect of our lives. But over the last few decades, our knowledge has expanded in leaps and bounds.
That was a shock to the system.
Now we're getting ready to push it to the limits, finding out how our brains react to unusual conditions and surprising challenges.
This is the strangest experience of my life.
Let's do it. I'm setting out on a journey. A journey to meet some people with remarkable neurological conditions.
One of the most common questions is, how is it wired to your brain?
That give us a unique insight into the inner workings of the brain.
I discovered people who are able to remember almost every day of their life.
In this episode, we'll mess with your mind and explore the mysterious relationship between our bodies and brain. I'll meet two people who can feel parts of their body that no longer exist.
I feel it all the time.
People simply don't understand invisible conditions.
We'll find out about the bizarre syndrome called phantom limb.
The challenge is, how do you treat a body part that is no longer there?
I'll discover how we can all experience the sensation of a disembodied hand.
It doesn't feel like it's part of my body.
And see what it takes to control a bionic arm. Plus, with the help of magician Pete Heat, we'll see just how easily our sense of touch can be fooled.
Oh my God! He didn't touch you, he didn't touch you.
What's going on deep inside your head? Join me to uncover the secrets of the brain. Chin chin. As humans, our perception and understanding of the world and what we do in it is generated entirely in our brains. But the way we sense and interact with the world also depends on our bodies. There's an inseparable partnership between the brain and body. And when that gets disrupted, strange things can happen. To start investigating these effects, magician Pete Heat has been up to his usual tricks.
How well would you two know each other? Are you close friends? Yeah?
We are.
Okay, I'm going to try something, kind of a magic trick, it's a bit weirder than that though. It's basically going to test how well connected you are, like how close you are. I'm going to ask you in a second to close your eyes. Okay, don't do it yet, but in a second you're going to close your eyes. And I want you, when you have your eyes closed, I want you to be really aware of anything you can feel. To start with, can you close your eyes for me? Okay. Can you see anything at all? No? Okay. All right, and open your eyes for me if you would. Thanks. To start with, did you feel anything at all?
Just double tap on the back of my arm.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
So you felt a tap on your arm?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't touch your arm. I touched your arm. No, I didn't touch you.
Oh, yeah, that's a bit scary. So who did?
I touched her on her left shoulder. Yeah, check, there's no one anywhere near you, right? Yeah, and but you can verify there was no one anywhere near.
Nobody touched me.
So, and where did I touch you? It was about there. Is that about where you felt? Yeah. Good. Well, that's a good start. Right. We'll try and take that a step further. Okay. In a second, I'm going to get you to close your eyes again. And this time, when you do that, I want you to concentrate on what you can feel more around your sort of head, face, that kind of area. Okay. Close your eyes for me. Brilliant. Thank you. All good. All right. Open your eyes for me. Thanks. Did you feel anything at all then?
Yeah, someone touched my nose.
God. Someone touched your nose?
Yeah.
Do you want to tell her what happened?
No one touched your nose. He touched my nose.
I swear to God, you're like this.
No, that's what you to me. What? No. didn't touch you. He didn't touch
Swear to
you.
God, he touched my
He
nose.
touched my nose. He didn't
And
touch
then he came
you.
behind me and he did this.
That's what he did to me. He didn't touch you once.
Did he actually not touch me? No, he didn't.
That was very weird because I could feel like quite strong taps on my shoulder and on my nose, so it was quite weird.
She saw it all, but I felt like I was touched personally, but she said that I wasn't, but it was her, so I don't understand. Like, we just...
I don't understand how you can feel what I can feel.
You think when you get touched, obviously your nerves can feel it and it sends a message to your brain and tells you, you've been touched. But if that physically didn't happen, either my brain is just making it up or Sonia weirdly, I don't know, sent me a connection or something.
It's a great magic trick, and it beautifully illustrates that what our senses tell us about what's going on in the world around us isn't always completely accurate. We trust what we feel touching us, but when these sensations let us down, it leaves us baffled. Now, I want to look closer at the mixed up sensations that can occur if the link between our body and brain gets disrupted. This is Nigel Ackland, who has one of the world's most advanced bionic hands. I have to admit, I was slightly concerned you might crush me with that grip.
I think it's a concern that most people have initially, but it makes the handshake more special.
Nigel used to work as a metal smelter until about 8 years ago when he had a horrific accident involving an industrial blender.
I was cleaning a large blender, like a big cement mixer type thing. And it started to spin. I fell inside, and my arm got stuck. It got trapped here, and then the drum changed direction and started crushing, and yeah. It lasted a few seconds, not long. But when it finished, I mean, I was hanging sort of up here.
After 6 months of unsuccessful surgery, Nigel realised his hand would have to be amputated. His new limb is purely mechanical, but amazingly, he still has the vivid sense his real hand is still there.
In my hand, I feel it all the time, which is sensation.
Of
Yeah,
your original hand and arm being there?
Yeah, like it's in a glove wrapped with wire wool, so you've got the slightly pins and needles, anaesthetic wearing off type feeling. That's what I get all the time.
Ah, so it's not a sensation of it there in its full normal form,
No,
but a numb version of its presence.
My hand is actually, if I put my thumb right, my hand is, that's how my hand is in my brain.
Oh, really?
Like this. Which is weird.
Nigel's describing phantom limb sensations, something nearly all amputees experience. For most, it manifests itself as a constant itch, but it can often be incredibly painful too.
Imagine someone's got a long spike. They tell you, look, I'm going to push this spike right down the heel of your hand. It's really going to hurt. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
But I'm going to do it now.
Right.
So you know it's happening, you know it's going to be horrible, but you can't do anything. That was one of my phantoms.
So these are sensations of pain in your limb that had gone months, if not years before?
Yeah,
years
I still
before.
get it now. I mean, my arm was amputated in 2007, Easter 2007. We're now at the end of 2015, so 8 years.
It's not just phantom limbs that cause people trouble. There have been reports of phantom nipples, phantom appendix pains, even phantom eyes and teeth. Phantom sensations are a curious glimpse of a remarkable link between the human body and the brain that truly fascinates us neuroscientists.
4 out of 5 people who has lost their arm will experience phantom pain. For some people, it manifests as shooting pain or electrical currents. Other people feel like the hand is burning. Another person would say that it feels like the hand is completely frozen. People often describe they feel the hand is clenched and the muscles of the hand are in pain. They can feel the nails digging into the skin. So it manifests differently for different people.
Amputee Nigel Ackland has found a surprisingly simple way of easing his pain.
If you have pins and needles in your hand, what do you do?
You sort of flex it and move
Right.
it to try and get the blood flowing.
When I'm doing it, my brain is looking at my fingers, flexing, which is what you would do and what I would do.
Yeah.
And it seems to be making the pain more controllable. Maybe that for me helps my brain to think that the blood flow's going back to the hand that's not there. And
So not only is it enabling you to get more control over your environment, but it's actually helping clear up some of that phantom pain.
this has actually helped a lot, this prosthetic, in a strange way.
Although the bionic hand is purely mechanical and isn't surgically attached to Nigel's arm, just seeing it in the right place and exerting some voluntary control over its movements somehow miraculously seems to help ease the pain. Nigel's experience highlights the complexity involved in the link between our bodies and our brains. I'll be back with him later to see how effectively his brain has taken to the bionic hand and how precisely he controls it. It is amazing the degree of precision that bionic arm has got under your control. And I'll get a rare chance to operate one of them myself. We've all got a lifetime's experience of being inside our skin. And this can create the distinct impression that our sense of where our body starts and ends is always accurate and up to date. But in actual fact, you can trick someone's mind into thinking that an inanimate object is actually a part of their body. I'm going to run a test on some of these market shoppers to illustrate roughly what having a phantom limb must be like. And I'll be needing this mirror. What we're going to do here is create a little bit of a sensory illusion that confuses your brain a little bit with regard to which hand is which. The volunteers sit so that they can see only their left hand and its reflection, which of course looks like their right hand, in the mirror. We're going to get you to move both your left and right hand simultaneously, up and then down, up and then down. After a while, they should start to forget about the hand that they can of course feel, but they can't actually see. Tap the thumb a couple of times, both sides simultaneously, very good. And adopt the reflection as if it's their other hand. So far, all the moves they've been doing are symmetrical, but let's see what happens when they move their arms asymmetrically. And now I'm going to get you to alternate. So when one hand goes up, the other hand goes down, switch, switch.
That's a bit weird. Yeah, it's a bit freaky. It feels like a puppet. I don't like it.
It feels like my hand's broken.
You have to say your hand's broken?
Like, it feels like that my hand is numb.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's part of my body.
I don't even know if I'm alternating or not. It's just, just strange.
I just feels like it's not real.
Good. So your body isn't a part of you anymore?
Yeah, it's lying to me, basically.
Our volunteers have the disturbing sensation of seeing what looks like their arm doing something it's simply not. The conflict between what they can see and feel creates a distinctly unsettling experience. So I've completely derailed their brain's ability to keep track of where their body parts are in space. Yes! So now we're going to go on to stage 2 of the experiment. Are you ready for that?
Yeah.
This illusion is going to make this very artificial looking rubber hand feel like it's your real left hand. This is called the rubber hand illusion. Simply by watching the rubber hand being stroked at the same time that the real hand is actually being stroked is quite enough to trick the brain into accepting it as its own. Each time I touch your hand, your fake hand on this side with the paintbrush, I'll simultaneously be touching your real left hand in exactly the same place with this paintbrush, with the same rhythm and tempo. Just keep concentrating on what you're seeing and what you're feeling.
Very convincing, that instantly.
Basically, I feel like this is my hand now. The rubber hand feels very real.
You mean it feels like it's your hand?
Yeah, it's my hand.
I mean, I can see that this isn't my hand, but actually when you're stroking it with the brushing it actually feels like it is my hand.
Because the sight of the brush stroking the rubber hand coincides precisely with the touch sensations on their real hand, the brain ties the two things together and perceives them as one and the same. In fact, the more irregular the touch, the more convincingly it feels that the rubber hand is actually a part of their own body.
Once you've got this illusion going, 2 or 3 minutes of stimulation, sometimes even less, you take so much ownership over this hand that...
Bloody hell, that's not nice.
It felt like a shock, and like I think I was in such shock I didn't actually feel anything because I was actually just kind of just.
What you felt like? You felt like how dare you hit me? You wanted to get revenge.
Yeah, thanks.
I wouldn't have thought how my sense of feeling and my vision would have been tricked so easily.
This illusion is a brilliant way of showing how combinations of touch and vision can trick our brain into adopting a completely inanimate object as a part of our very own body in seconds. Here's a way to experience for yourself a mixed up sensation induced by what your eyes are telling you about your limbs. Twist your hands like this. Now try and lift this finger. How about this one? Struggling? Not moving the finger you thought you would? Like this, your hands look and feel a lot like they're clasped normally. But the unusual position means your eyes are sending signals to your brain that aren't backed up by what you can feel, leaving you with a confused picture of your own body. This test and the rubber hand illusion both show how important our sense of vision can be in knowing our own bodies. It also offers clues about why amputee Nigel might get relief from having a bionic hand that looks and moves in a lifelike way. I'll be joining Nigel again later for a bionic masterclass. Whilst he's found a way to control his phantom pain, for other people who have these strange sensations, the solution is not always so straightforward. Meet Lynn Ledger. She lost her arm to a rare form of cancer about 7 years ago and still has incredibly vivid phantom sensation. She's on a quest to find out why.
When I woke up from my surgery, I had this really peculiar sensation of a phantom limb, and at that point it was, to say it was mobile was an understatement. It was moving like this, but it was moving in ways that an embodied limb couldn't. You know, the fingers would move through the hand and come out the other side, and I was just completely fascinated by this new set of sensations.
But Lynn was about to discover the pain that can come with having a phantom limb.
I had no inkling of what was to come when the anaesthetics finally wore off. And when they did, it just hit me like a wall. It was excruciatingly painful.
To try and discover what causes her pain, Lynn has come to Oxford University Department of Neurology to meet neurologist Dr. Tamar Makin.
The challenge that the medical doctors are facing is the same challenge that we have here in the lab. How do you treat a body part that is no longer there? It is notorious for being one of the most difficult pain conditions to treat.
Tamar uses a brain scanner to look deep into the brains of amputees for signs of what might be causing the pain.
What we've done is probably one of the simplest experiments ever to be performed in an MRI machine. We put people in the scanner and we ask them to move different body parts. But one of the body parts that we asked people to move was the phantom hand.
When Lynn flexes her phantom hand, what happens inside her brain? How does it compare to flexing her real hand? We'll be back later as she finds out for the first time.
It's very clear that your brain thinks the hand is still there.
It explains why I'm experiencing what I'm experiencing.
Nigel and Lynn give us a fascinating glimpse into the relationship between the human body and brain. So how do our bodies and brains talk to one another? And why do Nigel and Lynn experience pain in a limb that no longer exists?
The sensations of a phantom limb don't come from the stump itself, and obviously they can't come from the limb because in most cases the limb's been amputated. So we know that they're coming from the brain, and they're coming from the part of the brain that used to respond to the limb. So that part of the brain isn't silent.
So why is that part of the brain still active? Let's start right at the beginning. What's the relationship between our brain and body? How does each of them know what the other one's up to at any given moment? It's actually a remarkable process. Whatever we do, however we move, our brain is processing inputs, sending out trillions of intricately timed and coordinated electrical messages to muscles throughout our body. Even the simplest of movements, like picking up a glass of water, is actually an extremely complex motor task. Not only does your brain have to figure out which muscles to contract and in what order to steer your hand towards the glass, it also has to estimate the correct force so that you pick it up without dropping it or smashing the glass to smithereens. The way our brains control our movements is incredibly finely tuned. The brain also gets constant feedback from our muscles, tendons and sense of touch, updating it about the progress of our actions.
The body and the brain talk to each other by sending signals from the body into the brain and descending signals from the brain into the body. So you've got this constant kind of loop between them.
It's thought that phantom limb sensations may arise because the brain has stopped receiving feedback from the lost body part, yet still expects it, thus causing the confusion. Here's a demo of how easily your brain can create the distinct perception of something that isn't really there. Have a look at these fruit slices. Can you see a large square? What about now? Most people have a strong awareness of a square formed between the segments, yet there's no actual square there at all. This demonstrates how our brain makes assumptions about what our senses tell it, and maps out what it thinks should be there. Every second of the day, our brain receives trillions of signals coming in from our senses and different body parts, telling us what's going on in and around us. We keep tabs on what's going on in our immediate environment using our 5 senses: vision, smell, taste, hearing, and touch. But there's another sense, a 6th sense if you like, and that helps us keep track of how we move through and interact with the world around us. It's that uncanny sense of knowing where your limbs are, how exactly they're positioned in space at any given moment without even looking at them. It's called proprioception. Proprioception refers to our uncanny ability to know almost exactly where our arms, legs, or fingers are without having to look. It works thanks to position sensors in our skin, but more importantly, muscles, joints, and ligaments. And combined with our 5 main senses, it helps us build an incredibly precise mental map of where our body parts are in space.
Our sense of proprioception is often described as a 6th sense. And basically what this is a set of receptors in our muscles and ligaments that tell us what the angles and the positions of our joints are in our body. So for instance, our sense of touch doesn't tell me whether my arm is bent like this or not. It's actually the stretch in the receptors in my arm here that does that, and that is my sense of proprioception.
Here's how you can test your brain's sense of proprioception yourself. Find your fingertips. Raise both hands above your head and close your eyes. Using your right index finger, touch your nose, followed by each fingertip of the other hand, coming back to your nose each time. It's surprisingly difficult to successfully locate each fingertip with any precision. Okay, we're going to try again, but this time you're going to wiggle your fingers. It should be much easier. So what's going on? When you move your fingers, proprioception sensors in your muscles, tendons and joints send more information to the brain than when they're still. So you can better judge their position. Most of us are highly dependent on visual cues for judging distance and position, but wiggling your fingers provides just enough extra information to correctly locate your fingers in space. So we all have this sense of proprioception, which gives us a very precise awareness of the location of our various body parts. But when this sense goes wrong, the results can be devastating. Nigel, who I met earlier, suffers from phantom limb pain, but finds it's eased by flexing his bionic hand. The natural relationship between the senses of proprioception and vision could be a clue as to why.
If you have pins and needles in your hand, what do you do?
You sort of flex it and move
Right.
it to try and get the blood flowing.
When I'm doing it, my brain is looking at my fingers, flexing. It seems to be making the pain more controllable. Maybe that for me helps my brain to think that the blood flow's going back to the hand that's not there. And
Perhaps for Nigel, seeing a realistic looking hand and making it move at will makes up for a lack of proprioception. Substituting in a relevant visual input to help his brain make sense out of the confusion. But how else has the bionic hand helped Nigel? I now want to see it in action, close up.
Right, Nigel, it looks like we've got a battle on our hands. May the best man win.
Okay.
Oh, hello.
Nigel operates the hand by twitching the muscles at the end of his stump. After months of practice, he can activate the hand's different gestures effortlessly.
Okay, so now for the magic.
Hang on, that's cheating. No, it's not cheating. I take it back.
I've only got one hand.
It is amazing the degree of precision that bionic arm has got under your control.
The phantom sensation is what I believe allows me to control this in the sort of natural way that it's controlled.
And it seems like it's fundamentally changed your life.
And yeah, and it's not invasive either.
The hand has dramatically improved Nigel's ability to do things in his everyday life, but more than that, its appearance has transformed how he interacts with other people.
I do have a prosthetic that's really, I mean, it's old, and it's not the sort of thing you'd wear. I don't like wearing it in the street.
Have you got it here?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
This is my NHS prosthetic.
Oh, right, that's
Yeah.
that's a very different beast.
Would
Wow.
you shake that?
I would be reluctant to shake it. Can you put it on? Is it possible to?
And you know, I say, can you shake it? That's a kind of a flippant thing, but.
But would I want to? Yeah, I mean, it's a different proposition. That looks very inhuman, if you don't mind me saying.
Yeah, I call it lobster claw.
Lobster claw.
It's always been function over form. And the way, the reaction that I'm getting from you now, that is the reaction that I faced every day. I used to lock myself out of my garage. I used to lock myself away from my wife, my son, everyone, for days.
But with this, you are out of the garage.
Oh, big time.
I love how quickly you can do that. That's amazing.
Brilliant. There are now
perhaps 300 of these in the world.
Nigel is one of only a few patients testing out the bionic limb, which is still a prototype. But it's transformed his life, and he can't wait for more people to benefit from it.
With this, people accept you. They can see at a glance that it's not a weird hook, it's a very cool bionic arm. And it changes the way they interact with you socially. So rather than treating you like some kind of freak, they actually come over, show interest.
We should open our eyes to the fact that, you know, the people in today's world that we do label as disabled are actually the pioneers of tomorrow's world.
Later, I'll be meeting the creator of Nigel's high-tech bionic hand and trying it out to discover just how versatile it is.
Very good.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Not all amputees can afford or access high-tech bionic limbs. They don't always have a therapeutic effect on phantom pain. Lynn Ledger has tried prosthetics without success in the past and still struggles to find anything that helps.
This is an incredibly difficult condition to understand. It's a difficult one to live with. I've tried all kinds of things. I've used breathing techniques which help me manage the pain, but they're not really a treatment. I've been offered everything under the sun. I try and manage this pain, which is constant, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, without much by way of drugs, because there's nothing that works.
Lynn's having a brain scan to try and understand her condition and find a treatment that works. As the mystery of this remarkable brain condition gets unpicked by science, Lynn hopes we'll all be more sympathetic to the remarkable sensations amputees can perceive.
People simply don't understand invisible conditions. And it's hard work explaining to somebody that you're being haunted by excruciating pain from what essentially to them is a ghost arm.
Because you can't see the hand, because it's not there, because it doesn't look swollen, or you can't see someone wearing a cast, you're not really aware that they are currently experiencing intense pain. They've gone through this horrible trauma. They are coping with this serious disability. If there was just more support and understanding in the community, that could go a long way.
We'll be back with Lynn later to see if scanning her brain will uncover clues about her pain and if it might even lead to an effective treatment. Inside all our brains is a mental map of our body, telling us how our arms, legs, hands, fingers and head are positioned. We've seen that our sense of vision and our sixth sense of proprioception help to maintain this map, but it's also influenced by our sense of touch. Here's a test that demonstrates the power of touch. First, find a willing friend. Sit on a chair and ask your friend to sit in front of you with their back to you. Now, with your eyes closed, put your right hand on their nose. Tap it and stroke it, making identical movements with your other hand on your own nose, and continue for 60 seconds. Yes, it's a bit odd, but bear with me. About 50% of people will have the extremely odd sensation that their nose is a meter long. You've used your sense of touch to incorporate your friend's nose into your own mental body map. How awesome is that? Disrupting people's sense of touch is perfect territory for magician Pete, who's headed to the seaside to experiment on some members of the public.
As a magician, my hands are really important to what I do. A little statistic that I've found out while making this programme is that apparently a quarter of the part of your brain that deals with motion is actually devoted to your hands. So even though your hands are such a small part of your body relatively, actually 25% of the motor cortex is involved in moving your hands. So it's quite interesting, I thought. With that in mind, can I try something with you? Can I ask you to put your hands out for me like that? Perfect. And just with one of your hands, just sort of jiggle one of your hands up and down for a second. It's a bit of a weird thing to say, but that one? Okay, that's the one we're going to use then. We'll get rid of the other one for a second. I'm just going to take a pen. Okay. I want you to imagine that I'm drawing on my hand. Okay, I'm not actually going to do it, but I want you to imagine that I am. Okay, so when I bring the pen down here, I want you to just imagine that you can feel it on the palm of your hand. Now you might actually feel something. It might be a bit weird. Nothing painful. Just imagine that you can feel just something like an interesting sensation on the palm of your hand. Imagine that as I do that, I'm actually drawing a little cross. Could you imagine that was your hand? Could you sort of feel it in your head almost? Yeah. Turn your hand over.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Can I get you to turn your hand up? That's awesome.
What? Oh, he didn't touch me. Oh, that's weird. I don't know how, but he'd actually got a cross on my hand, which was kind of unsettling because he didn't actually touch me or come anywhere near me or anything. So I don't really know what to think. It's crazy.
I can't believe that my hand's been drawn on, but no one's actually drawn on my hand physically. It's weird.
Because he didn't physically touch my hands, and then when I turned my hand over and it was just there, I mean, in my head I could picture it, but I didn't think it would actually be there.
Yeah, I think
it's definitely there, right?
Yeah, it's there.
Still, I don't understand it still, I just don't get it.
These people have been fooled by a magic trick, but it illustrates that our sense of touch isn't always as reliable as we think. For people who've had an amputation, the touch receptors in their missing limb no longer exist. Yet they continue to experience sensations as if they do. Earlier we met Lynn, who continues to suffer severe pain from her phantom left arm after an amputation 8 years ago, and she's determined to find out why.
I try and manage this pain, which is constant 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, without much by way of drugs, because there's nothing that works.
Lynn's had her brain scanned by Dr. Tamar Makin, who's looking for clues about the source of her pain. Inside the scanner, Lynn first flexed her real hand, then her phantom hand, so that we could see the difference in brain activity. Tamar is focused on a strip of the brain that receives touch and movement signals from the entire body. Each half of it is devoted to one side of the body. Lynn can now see for the first time what's going on in this area of her brain.
So this is your brain, and the activation that you see here is in response to your intact hand, your right hand, activating the left side of your brain. Now you're going to move your phantom hand, and as you can see in the opposite part of the brain, there's pretty much an identical pattern of activation. Mm-hmm. So when you move your phantom hand and when you move your intact hand, the same thing happens. The brain looks the same.
This is the brain activity when Lynn's real right hand is being flexed. This is the activity when she's flexing her phantom left hand. They're almost identical, 8 years after the left hand ceased to exist.
What we found was really striking. We found in every single participant we tested, there was maintained representation of the phantom hand. And to, any neuroscientist that I would show these pictures to, it would look like a regular representation of the hand. And if you would compare the representation of Lynn's brain when she moves her phantom hand and the representation of my brain when I move my own fingers, it would look very similar.
So, Lynn can not only feel her missing limb, but amazingly her brain activation is indistinguishable from that of her real hand.
It's very clear that your brain thinks the hand is still there.
Brain scientists are still puzzling over what activates this signal. But somehow, the lasting representation of Lynn's arm in her brain is what's causing her pain.
It explains why I'm experiencing what I'm experiencing. Participating in Tamar's research has made a huge difference to my understanding of my own condition. So for me, it's helped me manage my condition better, just knowing the neurology of what's actually happened to me.
An effective treatment for phantom pain is still a way off. But Lynn's involvement in the research has opened up exciting new possibilities.
Tamara and colleagues have been working really hard trying to unravel the complexities of phantom limb. She's now working on a novel therapy for phantom pain, which involves using tiny electrical currents to stimulate the part of the brain responsible for producing sensations in the missing body area. So far, early results look promising, and in the meantime, there have been some huge breakthroughs in the world of artificial limbs that make the future look that little bit brighter for many amputees. So the relationship between your body, your limbs, and your brain is far from straightforward. But it's remarkable how much we can adapt. After my masterclass with Nigel, it's now time for me to see if I've got what it takes to control my very own bionic arm.
I've come to meet Bruce Rattray from the team behind the world's most advanced prosthetic hand.
These are high-tech prosthetic hands designed for those who don't have a hand. This particular hand can unleash so many different types of grips, up to 11 different active movements at any one time. The tripod grip.
Tripod grip.
Or the pinch. We can change into the power grip. This is what we call active index. So you've got full control of the index finger now. So you can make a gesture.
You programmed in, come hither.
Or, yeah, you can use it as a gesture, or again, you can find a comfortable position for typing. And this particular grip here is called column. That's very good for pushing activities. Everything's locked down on the hand, and it really helps the user with dressing, pushing through coats, sleeves, shirts, so the fingers don't get caught.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's 5 motors buried within the hand. 4 of them are situated in the palm, 1 for each finger, and the final motor's actually embedded inside the thumb. They're monitoring the position of one another all the time, so you get very accurate, repeatable grips. And they're just waiting for the signal to arrive from the wearer to do the particular motion that they require.
Maybe I watch too many sort of superhero sci-fi movies, but is it possible to get super strength out of one of these things?
We're limited to the motor strength at the moment, so whatever the motor can provide us with is our max at the moment.
In amputees, the hand is controlled by sensors that pick up muscle twitches in the stump. For my bionic experience, Bruce is attaching the sensor to the inside of my left arm to eavesdrop on the messages travelling down my nerves to the muscles.
This is tasks that would be undertaken in the clinic to get to used to using the prosthesis. So we've got these child's coloured blocks here. I want you to start picking up a couple of them and just stacking them on top of one another.
It takes a bit of practice, twitching my left arm to operate my right hand. But it doesn't take that long to get the hang of it. With time, amputees learn to activate the full range of different gestures, and using the hand can soon become second nature.
Well, it's amazing I can use my sound hand even though it's controlling. It's so clever. Okay, so can I pick up the glass without breaking that?
Yeah, you can try that as well. No. Now, water and electronics don't mix.
Okay, so I've got to be careful.
Take it nice and easy. Nice, strong close signal.
Strong close, so I don't have to worry about smashing the glass?
No, keep closing. Okay, you've got it.
How much did you say this thing costs?
Well, several thousand.
Okay, so that's why I'm going to drink it this way around, so I don't accidentally spill anything on it.
Very good.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's really good. Well done.
It's an extraordinary sensation. And it's remarkable how quickly I rejigged my own body map to accommodate an artificial arm.
Well, again, just...
you have faith?
I have faith in you, yeah.
All right, let's see.
I have a better chance.
Oh, I've got it.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah.
Oh.
Well, practice makes perfect.
Oh, no. Clearly, these things enable the patient to regain a lot of lost function.
Getting people back into their routine, yeah. Boosting their confidence, enabling functionality again. It lets you get on with your life as you did before.
Science is on the cusp of reinventing our bodies. By 2050, you can expect bionic exoskeletons, artificial blood cells, and lab-grown livers. So from eye limbs to artificial organs, advances in technology have led to an explosion of innovation in the increasingly sophisticated world of prosthetics. And the difference is making to the lives of those people who need them, if they can get hold of them, is really quite amazing.
One of the interesting things about artificial limbs is the brain can readily accept them as being part of their body. But this partly depends on whether the limbs can move and whether the limbs move as a result of your own thoughts. So one of the frontiers of science in this area is being able to take the pattern of neuron firings in somebody's brain in order to predict how they're trying to move their hands. So what you might have would be sensors on somebody's brain, or maybe within the skull themselves, actually on the cortex, that is kind of reading somebody's motor intentions and translating that into the movements of a robotic limb. So this enables the amputee not only to enact on the world, but actually to create a sense of ownership over the limb, that it feels like it is part of their body.
In this programme, we've seen how some people feel sensations and suffer awful pains in limbs that no longer even exist. We all have a mental map of our bodies, created by our sense of touch, influenced by vision and closely combined with our sixth sense of proprioception. For some amputees with phantom limb pain, seeing and moving a high-tech bionic hand can ease their suffering, perhaps by rewiring their body map. But other amputees don't have it that easy and are looking to science's cutting edge in the hope that understanding the mysterious workings of the brain will someday lead to a treatment. Let's hope so.
Phantom limb and conditions like it give us a fantastic way to understand how our brains construct our normal, everyday experience of bodily awareness and the self. The remarkable stories of Nigel and Lynn give us an extraordinary insight into the ever-evolving relationship between our bodies and our brains.